Well, hey folks, it's Viejo here, and we are into the third week of February here in 2023. Got a nice day here on the central coast of California. We've had some cool mornings, but that's okay. We deal with that all right. It's not as cold as you folks back there on the right side of the country. Today, we're going to finish up this series on the 7 different molds we have that cast a 200 grain semi-wide cutter bullet in the style of the famous Hensley and Gibbs number 68 mold. And one of those is the Hensley and Gibbs number 68. But we had a Lyman bullet. We had 2 bullets here from MP molds. We have a Lee, we have a Seiko, and we have an RCBS. And when we go look in our Lyman cast bullet handbook, the only one of those that had any load data was this for the Seiko bullet. And so I thought we'd talk a little bit about a way that you can take that load data for that bullet and kind of jumble around a little bit and figure out a starting load for the rest of these. And that was basing the cartridge overall length, or COL, for these other bullets against the case volume for the Lyman, so that we would start these all with a starting load for the Lyman bullet with the same case capacity below the base of the bullet. Okay, so the previous episodes of the series have been kind of all about that. In the most previous episode, we got the ammo made up, okay, with our charge of Vitavuri N320 powder. And now it's time to go to the range and shoot these, just to kind of take a look and see what our velocities and pressure signs are going to be like when we use that load data for all of these bullets. Okay, you know, our presumption is that we're going to have safe starting points by doing this. So there's 2 firearms here. I'm going to shoot both of these. We're going to do the chronograph with the Springfield TRP operator here because it's got a full rail, and the chronograph that I'm going to use is our magneto speed, and it requires a rail to mount it on a semi-auto. Okay, so and I'll take some video at the range using the magneto speed on the operator here, so you can see how that works. And then I'm going to shoot some just for drill's sake out of the Kimber Raptor. Okay, obviously both these are 45 ACP 1911, okay, firearms. I'm not going to take a whole bunch of video. It'll get boring real fast. We got a lot to go through at the range. I'm going to shoot a mag full of each bullet through the chrono and a mag full just at the targets, okay, with this one. We know that we're likely to have some issues here and there at the range. A couple of these bullets we had to load pretty short because the bullet themselves were shorter in order to get the same overall length, or excuse me, the same case capacity under the base of the bullet. And one of them we had to load considerably longer than we might normally. And we can get feed issues with this shaped bullet if the round is too short or too long. Okay, bullets come up and hit the hood of the chamber up there in the barrel at an odd angle, and sometimes they don't want to go quite into battery. So we'll expect that to hang up. The other issue is that I'm sure we'll encounter is that the magneto speed sometimes doesn't play well with cast bullets. It does great with jacketed and copper plated bullets, but sometimes it just won't read a cast bullet as it goes across the sensors, and then it'll give me an error, and it is what it is. But shooting 7 rounds, we should get at least 4 or 5 rounds across the chronograph, enough to give us some velocity information. Okay, so we'll anticipate those things to happen. We'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky and we won't have any of those issues, but you never know. So I'm off to the range we'll get the shooting done. I'll get a little video clipped in here for you. We'll show you enough with the operator so you can get an idea how the magneto speed looks and operates if you've never seen that. Then we'll come back, we'll tabulate the chronograph data and show you, where we ended up with that. Okay, I'll be back, and it might be in the next couple of days. Okay, time I get to the range and get it all done, and then we'll come back and take a look. Okay, but all right, guys. Through the magic of video, we're back from the range. I actually had to go twice. I ran out of time on the first day, and I couldn't get it all done, but that's fine. We got the chrono work done. We got some target shooting done. And I've got the results tabularized here. I'll bring you down here close here in a couple of minutes and we'll take a look. We had some interesting results of all of the loads. The only one that really was that close to the what the book said we should expect for velocity were the Lyman bullet and the Seiko bullets. The rest of them were all faster than that. And admittedly, that was a little bit of a surprise for me. They're all a little bit different, as we would suspect. The cast weights were slightly different. Some were a little lighter, some were a little heavier than the Lyman bullet. So we expected to see some variation in our average velocity. Standard deviations were nothing to write home about. The one that did the best might surprise you. It didn't surprise me, but because I've shot those all before. So just a couple of things. Let me cut in some video right here to take a look at some of how the chronograph work went. Okay, and then we'll come back here and talk a little bit more. Okay, and as I said, we also shot just for fun at the targets with the Kimber Raptor 1911. So let's put in a couple clips from that. Okay, so you saw how that went, and nothing spectacular on the targets, right? Okay, they were reasonable, I guess, but you know, and I'm not that great of a shot in the first place. But none of these at that particular load did anything really superior as far as my own ability to make them go where I wanted them to go. Okay, I've done better, I've done worse. So take that for what it is. We got some cases here to look at, and I'll bring us down here closer again in a minute. We'll look at our pressure signs. They were all fine. The velocities all turned out to be fine as far as starting velocities go. Okay, so let's come down here and take a look at the actual results. All right, as we start from the top down there's our Hensley and Gibbs number 68. Okay, the kind of purplish one there. And our average velocity there, 826, extreme spread of 12, but we only got 4 rounds out of the 7 in the magazine that actually chronographed. Okay, had errors on the other 3, and it just didn't record. And that's typical, as I'd said before, with cast bullets in that magneto speed unit. It does that to me frequently with cast bullets, not always, but sometimes. Then next was the Lee, and again, we only got 4 rounds chronographed. Okay, it ran a little bit faster than the Hensley and Gibbs. They're real close to the same weight as cast. The Lee bullet, we had to run out there a little bit longer than I think I normally would. But of those 4, okay, the extreme spread was only 9, and that led a standard deviation of 4.2. And we can't put too much stock in a standard deviation with only 4 or even 1 mag full of rounds. Okay, it doesn't mean a whole lot. The more rounds we run through, the more meaningful that standard deviation will become. But those aren't too bad. Then we got to the Lyman, and average of 753, extreme spread kind of high there at 30, but still a standard deviation of only 10 out of 6 rounds. Not bad, you know, not wonderful, but it's not bad. Then we have the first of our 2 MP moles, and this is the 68 plain base, 198 grains. Okay, we loaded that at the same cartridge overall length as the Lyman bullet, as you can see. 820 feet per second, so considerably faster than the Lyman bullet itself. Standard deviation of only 15. The second MP mold, that was that hollow point, and it was the lightest of all of them. And it was the fastest of all of them, as we might expect, using that same charge. A standard deviation of 12. We got 6 rounds chronographed there. RCBS bullet, up there at over 800 feet per second. Also, look at that extreme spread though, and just kind of a crummy standard deviation. And that was with the entire mag got chronographed on that 7 rounds. And then the Seiko bullet, okay, loaded at the same cartridge overall length as the Lyman bullet from the book, 781 feet per second, huge extreme spread, and just a real sucky standard deviation. Let's go up the line a little bit tighter and look at the primers. They're all nice and rounded. There's the Seiko bullet. There's the RCBS. Okay, that is the MP hollow point, obviously. There's the MP solid bullet. There's the Lyman bullet. The Lee, and the Hensley and Gibbs number 68. So all of those looked good. Case mouths were all fine. Okay, and you know, you look at this one, for example, a little bit of smudging there. Okay, indicative of maybe the crimp wasn't good enough, or just a little bit of a light charge for that particular bullet. Okay, but you know, again, coming down the line at our velocities, okay, everything looks good to be considered a decent starting load for those bullets. All right, so there we are. We had reasonable results within my expectations of what was going to happen. I think where I would go from here would be that a couple of these bullets I think were loaded too short. The RCBS bullet was down in there just right at the case mouth, or it might even have been slightly below on a couple of the rounds, which might be part of why we had such a kind of a wide range of velocities there. Same thing with the this MP bullet, the hollow point. I had to load that pretty deep because it's a shorter bullet in order to get the same case volume below the base of the bullet. It's shorter than I would like, and I think I would pull that bullet out a little bit longer. Again, you saw in the video we had a feed issue or two here and there, partly I think because of loading these either a little bit too long like I did with the Lee bullet. That bullet's loaded longer than I normally would. You saw in an earlier video, they all plunk test in the barrels fine, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're just going to feed well under live fire conditions where we got, that slide slamming them out of the magazine. So just because they fit, at the bench doesn't mean they're going to run well at the range necessarily. All of these molds I would run again. Okay, and I would go further testing on some of them. I've done a lot of work with my Hensley and Gibbs and the Lyman bullet both. Not all that much with Lee. I have shot a lot of that Lee bullet, and I'll tell you that I shot it with a shorter coal than we did here, and it did better. It didn't do bad here, but I only chronographed 4 rounds. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave this series, you guys. We've found a way where we can get some starting points, even if that exact bullet's not shown in your manual. If you can find the old RCBS manual, this one is in there, but that manual doesn't say anything about cartridge overall length for you, but it does give you some powder charges to use. The rest of these, there just isn't much there, so you got to kind of figure it out for yourself. So I hope you enjoyed the series. I've got a few other projects coming up, and I've got a new caliber and firearm in the house, and we're going to start working with that. And I may do a similar series to this with 9mm conical nose or truncated cone type bullets. I've got several molds for those for 9s. So we might do that in the near future as well. Okay, that wraps this one up. Hope you enjoyed it. And for now, from the Viejo bench, that's all she wrote.